You've heard of Thor, you've heard of Odin, you've heard of Zeus. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong Zeus. That's better. These were the gods of the Norse and Greek people, and most cultures around the world have a set of gods that are believed to be in charge of that specific race of people. People often call them folk gods or folk religion. Now, I'm not talking about the ones viewed as higher level gods, such as Jesus, the Buddha, and the Taoist sage Lao Tzu. These three gods of major world religions all came to the world within a 500-year period and are believed by many people to provide salvation to all humanity. I know people may have different opinions on that, so let's not get into it too deeply, because what we are talking about today are gods within what Chinese and traditional Buddhist thought is referred to as the three realms, or San Jie in Chinese. These are the lower realms of the universe, and the lowest of these is where humankind lives, i.e. the earth, which is referred to as the realm of desire, or Yu Jie in Chinese. We then have what is usually translated as the realm of form, Se Jie, above it. Now, se can mean lust, but in this sense it doesn't. It instead is translated as form, and the idea of it is being constrained by a physical form. And then above that we have wu se jie, the realm without form, where beings can exist in a formless state and they're not deluded by physical forms either. So it's kind of like levels of purity. The human realm is based on the most low-level desires. The level above is purer, but it's still limited by physical forms and perhaps some level of attraction to them. And then the highest level, where the being's hearts are not moved by physical forms or physical beauty, and they don't even need to maintain a physical form if they don't want to. The three realms each have smaller realms within them, so you will hear the 33 levels of heaven sometimes, which is the same concept. Although this terminology comes from Buddhism, Taoist thought also talks about the three realms. There is a saying in Chinese, 超出三界外，不在五行中, which means to go beyond the three realms and the five elements, which first appears in the Ming Dynasty novel Investiture of the Gods, Feng Shen Yan Yi, which describes mythical events of the Shang Dynasty well before Buddhism came to China. So the same idea is applied in talking about the gods, whether specifically Buddhist in identity or not. The Tao school does, however, have slightly different definitions of what the three realms are. And although not specifically stated, you can draw parallels in the traditions of China to the folk gods of the West. In Norse mythology, there are 9 realms. 9 is 3 times 3. So are they talking about the same thing, but splitting each realm into 3 sub-realms? Maybe. So when Odin banished Thor to the earth in the Marvel movie, maybe he was banishing him from the realm without form to the realm of desire. And so most stories about what people often refer to as demigods or even gods refer to heavenly beings from these 2 realms above the earth, coming down and coming into contact with people.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
The Greek gods lived above Mount Olympus, or perhaps actually on Mount Olympus, but in a different dimension of existence, and it is from there that they would descend down to the earth. From the heavens, these gods would govern certain aspects of the natural world, like Poseidon, the god of the sea, for example. And if they came down here, they would usually have some abilities that people would perceive as supernormal. And in Chinese thought, it's no different. They have their king of the gods, the equivalent of Zeus or Odin, and they have a multitude of different deities governing different aspects of the natural world and human society. Most of these are associated with Taoism, which is a homegrown belief system in China, unlike Buddhism, which was imported from India. And in this video, we will go through them all. This is the Chinese Gods Explained. Now, we are going to heavily reference Journey to the West in this video because many of these folk gods are included in that story. Let's start from the top with the Great Jade Emperor. So the Great Jade Emperor in Chinese is called Yu Huang Da Di, or sometimes also referred to as Tian Gong, the Heavenly Grandfather. And he is the ruler of heaven. He started out as the assistant to this guy, Yuan Shi Tianzun, the primeval lord of heaven, a heavenly lord of an even earlier time. After the Jade Emperor cultivated and achieved immortality after something like 300 million years, he became the ruler and supreme administrator of heaven. So the idea is that he had an imperial court in the heavens resembling the court of the Chinese emperor on earth, and he had lesser gods working under him who were like celestial bureaucrats and celestial generals, etc., etc., who controlled the levels under them and ultimately the earth. This was the guy the lower level deities could complain to when someone in heaven broke the rules. And of course, all the other gods in the Chinese heavens looked up to him, and he enjoyed all the honors that went with that, such as extravagant palaces, feasts, and dances by heavenly maidens. When one of his heavenly generals, Tianpeng Yuanshui, becomes overly lustful towards Chang'e and even creepily tries to force himself on her, the great Jade Emperor banishes him down to the human world and gives him a hideous appearance of a pigman. Yep, he turns into Zhu Bajie, known as Pigsy. And the Jade Emperor's court also gives the approval for the Monkey King to be punished in the furnace of Taishang Laojun, also sometimes referred to as Lord Lao. Taishang Laojun is one of the 3 pure ones, or Sanqing, which include Yuanshi Tianzun, the great Jade Emperor's master, and also one other deity. These are the 3 highest deities in Taoist thought. Now, those stories are of course from Journey to the West, a fictional novel, but it's very similar to the idea of how Odin banishes Thor down to the human world. Of course, in actual Norse mythology, Odin didn't banish Thor, and the Chinese version comes from fiction too. Maybe people just like the idea of a once great hero getting humbled and having to build himself up again from nothing. So that is the Jade Emperor, but what about the multitude of gods under him? Well, we already mentioned one, and that was Chang'e, the goddess of the moon. So Chang'e is the wife of Hou Yi, who shoots down 9 out of 10 suns, scorching the earth, leaving just one sun in the sky in a Chinese myth. For this feat, he is awarded the elixir of immortality from Xi Wangmu, the Western Queen Mother. We'll talk about her in a moment. The idea was that him and his wife Chang'e would drink half each and live forever on Earth, but if one person drank the whole thing, they would become a god. One of Hou Yi's apprentices then went and tried to steal the elixir when Hou Yi was away, and in order to not let him get it, Chang'e drank the whole thing. She became immortal and floated up to the heavens, where she settled on the moon, close enough to keep an eye on her husband on Earth. Chinese people view her as the goddess of the moon, but she isn't the highest goddess in Taoist thought. That title goes to the one who provided the elixir, the Queen Mother of the West. In Chinese, she is called Xi Wangmu, or the Western Queen Mother. Mentions of her are found in the oracle bone inscriptions, which are the first known examples of Chinese characters from the Shang dynasty. She is associated with immortality and is often depicted with peaches of immortality. She is the highest goddess in Taoism and thus is venerated by women across China. She was a very popular figure during the Tang dynasty, with many poems written about her. Like the Greek gods who lived on Mount Olympus, she resided in the Kunlun Mountains in western China. This is a Ming dynasty painting of her peach festival at her palace in the mountains. This peach banquet and the Queen Mother of the West are depicted in Journey to the West as well, when the Monkey King eats all of her biggest peaches.
怎么这么小？娘娘，蟠桃园的大桃都被齐天大圣偷吃光了。
And she of course goes and complains about this to the great Jade Emperor, because he is the guy that you complain to when someone doesn't follow the rules of heaven, and he sends another god to go down and discipline the Monkey King. And that god is the pagoda-bearing heavenly king Li Jing. So this guy's title is Tuo Ta Tian Wang, the pagoda-bearing heavenly king, and his name is Li Jing. You can see him holding the pagoda in this clip. Now, Li Jing is based on a supposedly real figure from the Shang dynasty, and he is Ne Zha's father. So if you've seen the recent Ne Zha 2 movie, yes, he's that kid's father. Although there is a better representation of Ne Zha in one of the Monkey King movies that I like more. So Ne Zha is a god in the heavens himself, but we are talking about his father in this case, and he is always represented carrying a pagoda. Now, since his son Ne Zha was kind of crazy, he could use this pagoda given to him by another deity to restrain Ne Zha if needed. So there is a vast pantheon of different bureaucrats and heavenly generals in the heavens, and many of these are covered in books like Journey to the West and Investiture of the Gods. Many of them are based on real figures in history who supposedly did spiritual cultivation and obtained enlightenment. There are also gods who control specific things in the human world, such as the dragon kings that control the sea. The Buddhist sutras speak of 8 dragon kings controlling the oceans. These kings can appear in human form too, although in the original Journey to the West TV show, they make more effort with the makeup and make them look a little bit more like dragons. And it is of course from one of these dragon kings, the Dragon King Aoguang, that Monkey King steals his signature weapon from. And Aoguang then of course goes and complains about it to the great Jade Emperor. Then, like in Norse mythology, you also have a god of thunder, or Lei Shen, sometimes also called Lei Gong. He is described in the classic of mountains and seas, Shan Hai Jing, as having a dragon body and human head. And he is married to Dianmu, the goddess of lightning or mother of lightning. I'm sure their chemistry together was electric. So that is a rundown of some of the gods within the three realms. Now, even though they are gods, according to the Buddhist concept, all beings within the three realms still have limited lifespans and will eventually reincarnate. It's just that the higher you go, the longer the lifespan. But eventually, they will pass away, and if they have accumulated karma during their life, they may have to drop down some levels in their next life, and they may even end up in the trash heap of the universe, the human world. That's not actually the human world in that clip, but you get the idea. So what about those who have transcended the three realms? Remember that saying, 超出三界外，不在五行中. Going beyond the three realms and the five elements. The Chinese believe that through spiritual practices in Buddhism and Taoism, you can give up worldly desires and attachments and go beyond the cycle of rebirth, breaking out of the three realms. Then you will not be limited by reincarnation and will thus be truly free. What happens then? Are there still classifications of gods? Yes, there are. So let's use the Buddhist concepts to illustrate this. The realm that Bodhidharma or Dharma reached when he meditated at the Shaolin Temple was Arhat or Luohan in Chinese. This is the first level above the three realms, where you are a truly enlightened being in the universe. The appearance of a Luohan or Arhat is male with a bald head like a monk. Above that, there is the level of Bodhisattva or Pusa in Chinese. These are generally female in appearance, and one of the most famous is Bodhisattva Guanyin or Guan Shi Yin.
观世音菩萨来了，好，迎接。
And you notice in that clip, she comes down from above to where the Jade Emperor is, because she is from a level above the three realms. Bodhisattvas often do a lot of things in the human world because their power is not as great as a Buddha, so they would not cause such drastic changes in society. But they are closer to humans than Buddhas, so they feel a lot of compassion towards humankind. They can do things such as arranging spiritual cultivation for followers of the Buddhist faith, like the Tang monk in Journey to the West. When you really think about it, these levels, like Bodhisattva and Arhat, remind me of the saints in Christianity, like St. John and St. Mary. Other beings in the tradition who have significant spiritual achievements but aren't as high level as the main spiritual figure. Buddhism also has the concept of Tianren, heavenly people, which include Tiannu, heavenly women, and Feitian or flying heavenly beings, normally depicted as female. You can see these in ancient paintings. And there is even one called Tianshi, or heavenly messenger, which is the exact same translation Chinese people use for angels in the Western tradition. Francis Story argues this very point in his writing, that the angels in the Christian tradition seem to have similarities with the Buddhist devas, or Tiannu, heavenly women. And actually, if you delve into Christianity, you discover that not all angels are messengers. There are different ranks that do different things, just like this Buddhist concept. So I guess this is describing heavenly beings that live in either the Buddhist paradises or the Christian heaven, not necessarily at the level of Arhat or Bodhisattvas, but just regular beings there. So it's interesting that what appears to be the same concept exists in both the East and the West. And then we get to the level of Buddha, or Fo in Chinese, the entry level of which is called Tathagata in Sanskrit and Rulai in Chinese. These are the one you call on when you really are in trouble. This is who the Jade Emperor calls on when, say, a magical monkey is causing a ruckus in heaven. But it is said that beings at this level, if they appear in the human world, cause huge changes in society, and thus it is thought by some that the Buddha from India, Lao Tzu in China, and Jesus in the West were all at this level and had similar spiritual insight. There are even scholars who have written books supporting this exact theory. And personally, it's a theory I think is very likely. Gods of this level, when they come to the world, cause a huge culture to develop around them. Lao Tzu wrote the Dao De Jing, a book that has survived for over 2,000 years and is viewed as the founder of Taoism. Jesus spread his teachings, caused pretty much a whole continent to abandon their previous folk gods like the Roman gods and follow Christianity. And Buddhism obviously became one of the biggest religions in Asia too. So there you have a rundown of the Chinese gods, from the gods of the three realms, who seem almost human in many ways, but with magical powers, to highly accomplished spiritual beings out there in the universe who offer salvation to humankind, and the parallels they have with the traditions of the West, from the Roman and Greek gods all the way up to the saints and key figures in Christianity. Of course, you should not mix these things together, but the parallels are certainly interesting. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think about it, or if you found any other connections. And if you do like Chinese myths and legends, don't forget to check out Shenyun Performing Arts, the world's #1 classical Chinese dance show. They have just a few weeks left on their 2026 world tour. For my US East Coast friends, they still have shows in New Jersey and Connecticut, and in total they have 8 companies touring the world. So no matter where you are, you may still have a chance this year to catch a performance. Check out the link below to watch the trailer, and if you do go on to buy a ticket, use code LCN2026 for a wave booking fee on all US and Canadian show dates. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.